Okay, hi everyone. All right, this video is going to be about using the regression capabilities of Desmos. Okay, you will be getting a project sometime within the next week or two, and you're going to have to do some basic data analysis, and we're going to be applying some of the regressions that we learned in class. You are allowed to use your graphing calculator for this. However, I would recommend you using something else because I'm going to be asking you to make some graphs to do some basic data analysis. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is learn how to do linear and, let's say, quadratic regressions in Desmos. Okay, so let's switch over here to Desmos. Let me get in here. Okay, start graphing. Okay, so how do we do a regression in Desmos? Well, first we need some data. All right, so first thing you're going to do is you're going to move your mouse over to the plus button. All right, now if you go down, you see that there's an option to pick table. Click on that. Okay, so this is where you can enter numbers into Desmos here. Okay, so let's just type in some numbers here. 1, oops, no, there should be a 1, sorry. Okay, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7. Okay, now I'm going to add some extra numbers. 1, 1.9, 3.3. Let's see, 4, we'll do 4.2, 5.6, and this one will be 6.3. There we go. Okay, so these are just some numbers that I'm just kind of making up. I know they kind of lie approximately on the line. Okay, so it kind of looks more like an actual data set. Okay, so first off, notice that when you plug the numbers into the table, you automatically get a scatter plot. So one of the nice things about Desmos is just by plotting the points, by plugging the numbers into the table, it makes the scatter plot for you. You don't have to know like a sequence of buttons to press to make a scatter plot like on your graphing calculators. Okay, now let's down here. We need another expression. Okay, so now we're going to do a linear regression. Okay, now I purposely made these numbers to kind of look like they have a linear trend to them. Okay, so I'm going to try to find a linear regression. So here's what I'm going to do. Now, this can be a little bit tricky. It's a little hard to understand for some people, but just bear with me here. So what we're going to do is we're going to type in y, okay, but we have to add something else. We want to tell Desmos that we want to find a fit to these data points right here. Okay, now if you notice at the top of each column, there's a heading. This one says X1, this one says Y1. So those are like the names of the columns. All right. Well, when we do the regression, we don't use those variables. We have to use the usual variables X and Y. We have to use these variables that are given in the table. So I have to add a subscript. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do show keypad, ABC. And then right here, you see this A with a little b next to it? That's a subscript. So I'm going to press that. And if you notice, the cursor moved down. Okay, so he moved down to the subscript position. So now I'm going to type in 1. Okay, now you notice that the cursor is still the same size as the 1. So he's still in the subscript position. We need to move him out of there. So I'm going to hit the right arrow key. Okay, so hopefully you notice that when I hit the right arrow key, the cursor went back to regular size. All right. Now, the next thing that's a little bit odd. Now, normally when you're graphing, you just use equals. Well, here we are not going to use equals. We got to go to ABC, and we're going to use this symbol right here called the tilde. Okay, we're going to use the tilde. That symbol tells Desmos you're going to do a regression. Okay, you're not graphing an equation that's going to fit to the data. Okay, now the thing about Desmos when you're doing a regression is that, like if you do a linear regression, you have to find, the calculator is going to find the slope and the y-intercept that are a best fit for the data. Okay, so now those are kind of unknowns at this point. So we have to tell the calculator that it's an unknown. We don't use numbers, so I'm going to use M. So I got to use something else, a letter. Then I'm going to type in X. Now again, I got to use a subscript here. Go to a 1. Okay. Now all I have left to do is do plus and then B. And there you go. Regression done. Desmos finds you the statistics of it. It lets you plot something called residuals, which I'm not going to talk about in this video. And then it tells you the values of the parameters right here. And it automatically graphs it for you. Unlike in your graphing calculator, when you have to tell it, store the equation in memory, then you got to tell it to graph it. Okay, so this is a lot easier to do. And you can see that we have a nice fit. Okay, so, and that concludes this video.